This is part 2 of St George's Street, in which we will be looking at the western side of what was once a very long street running from what's now Anglia Square to the city centre. We left the last video here, and my steps will take me past the historic location of the Duke of Sussex pub, walking down the original St George's Street and looking across at what is now a car park, but hasn't always been. On this map I've highlighted William IV Yard, one of the city's old residential areas, and although it was closed as long ago as 1908, I think this is an old access point to it, which in turn would mean the William IV pub, which also served its last pints in 1908, would have been to the right of it as we look. Moving close to the flyover, the road sign from 1936 reads Cherry Lane, and as we compare it to the 2023 equivalent, that Cherry Lane sign will be roughly where those steps to the chapel are. These houses, as seen in 1936, numbers 126 to 134, have been lost underneath St Crispin's Road. Turning around and looking into the city, it's here that we would have found the entrance to Drake's Court in 1936. Go through that entrance and we can see for ourselves some of the conditions inside one of Norwich's old yards. Slightly further towards the city centre, this is the 2023 location of Stonemasons Square, seen here just before slum clearance took place in the 1930s. Heatray had this factory on St George's Street from 1926 to 1970 before relocating to Hurricane Way. This is an advert for one of their products from 1963. These are numbered 104 to 106, the 2023 equivalent view looking like this. Turn around and we see the Central School of Dance, the site of which was occupied by these buildings in 1938. On the extreme left of this picture was the Golden Can pub, seen here from the opposite direction. The pub on the corner of Arms Lane closed in 1942, and the current view looks like this. Going into Arms Lane and looking out at St George's Street looks like this, and the 1936 view looked like this, the Golden Can to the left of those ladies. Back on St George's Street and south of Arms Lane, these are numbers 86 to 88 St George's Street, the present day view looking like this. Turning around, this is Deborah House, numbers 80 to 82, dating originally from the 16th century. This is 1938 and this is 1976, by which time it had been Grade 2 listed. This is the current view of the building. As we turn around again, this is St George's Alley just in front of the 20 sign, which looked like this in 1936. St George's Church itself, dating originally from 1459, is seen here in 1990, with this being the 2023 equivalent view. We're now looking up St George's Street towards the city centre and comparing it to this 1925 photo, which shows Camplings, dyeing and cleaning works at number 58. This undated photo shows Camplings just before its demolition. In the other direction we see the two Quarts Pub, which would close in 1907 compared to the 2023 view. Heading up towards the playhouse, there was once a lane running beside it called Water Lane, which ran on into Colgate and still exists at the Colgate end, this being the view. Next to the lane on part of the playhouse site was the Crown Pub. No photos I can find of that, but it was immediately next to the Norwich Mercury printing offices seen here during the floods of 1912. Standing on Blackfriars Bridge, this is the view looking back at the playhouse, previously known as the Gun Wharf in this 1974 photo. This is the Guntons Building, now part of the Norwich University of the Arts, taking its name from Guntons, who established it as an agricultural showroom in 1914. This was the location of the St Andrew's Hall Stores pub until its closure in 1910. Unfortunately, I can't find a photo of that, but here is a present day pub, now called the Dog House, but previously called the Red Lion, and seen here in 1984 and here back in 1936. This is a wider view of the city end of St George's Street, also known as St Andrew's Plain at this point, with the historic equivalent from 1976. Looking closely at the Festival House pub, this was its look in 1936, the present day equivalent of the St Andrew's Brew House looking like this. If you've enjoyed this video, why not look at the other side of the street in St George's Street East.